Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. And we are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth in terms of understanding the cause of suffering in narcissistic relationships. When we talk really about suffering, we are talking about the experience of pain. We're talking about the experience of discomfort. We're talking about really the experience of something unpleasant, and that is a struggle or very painful in nature. And really, in my viewpoint, that arises from the narcissistic projection of entitlement, pathological sense of self-importance, and also that feeling that they are superior to and above others. And this projection, in order for them to sustain this, they can never be an equal. They must always rely on judgment, and they must always rely on manipulation. They must always be perceived as superior than, and this causes suffering in the relationship. Because to have a superior than, there must be an inferior. To have really that above and wiser or better than, you must have a lesser than or a lower than. And really, what causes suffering, a lot of people do not like to be treated that there is something flawed, there is something wrong with them, there is something, inherently embarrassing or shameful, or that they are not good enough. It is the part of the human condition to not desire that, to not want to experience that. And so that creates a gap. That creates a disconnect, and that creates a confusion. And furthermore, it creates such a gap that it creates a sense of not belonging or isolation, or that you are somehow ostracized, or it creates a cognitive dissonance. In other words, they need you. They're trying to draw you towards them through complying with this, yet they're pushing you away at the same time. It's like the creation of a war zone when there is none. It's creating a feeling of struggle or tug of war. In other words, come near me, but go away. Come near me, but go away. This is a very painful manipulation to experience. And this manipulation, which creates suffering and pain in the relationship, is that they are trying to get you to comply with this. Yet the human being is always striving for homeostasis or balance or feeling of happiness or completeness in its environment. So this feeling of being inferior creates a gap, an emptiness, or a void, which a human being naturally wants to reduce. So all emotion is trying to get you to close that gap. In other words, to close the distance between what you want and what you have. So if you feel that you want something that you don't have, you're going to be driven to reduce that tension. You're going to be driven to reduce that. In other words, just like the drive to become. The drive to become is a natural propensity. It's a natural, energetic momentum moving forward that you have a vision or a view thereof. So realize that the subconscious mind is driven by images. It is driven by feelings. It's driven to reduce tension and reduce pain. It is wanted to follow commands and be given instruction. So in order to fulfill these feeling states, in other words, to be happy, to reduce pain, to be at a feeling of peace, to be at a feeling of harmony, to be at a feeling, perhaps you have a drive of spiritual enlightenment or spiritual growth, which oftentimes is really pronounced in those people who have been abused, those people who have been in very unstable environments or narcissistic or psychopathic homes where they have been walking on eggshells or feeling fearful or feeling constant criticism and then creating a shame-based personal experience, which is chronic and ongoing, which then creates an identity of I am flawed, I am less than, there's something wrong with me, and you can't think your way out of it. You can't feel your way out of it. There are no tools oftentimes when you're so immersed, or when you're a young human being. Notice I'm saying human being and not human doing. You are a human being, not a human doing. If, it's, and so notice also as while we go through this discussion, the experience of a be state versus a do state. We are not human doings, but yet when you're in a narcissist relationship, or let's just throw in, for good measure, in more extreme conditions and situations of manipulation, either through a malignant narcissist or a psychopath, where you're forced to become a human doing. Now, we all have activities and things that we must do. We must brush our teeth. We must clean our home. We must go to work. We have bodily functions we have to take care of. We have to cook. We have to eat. We have to go to bed. We have to walk, to do things. There are certain activities that we have to do. But however, the narcissist relationship, in my viewpoint, is a conditional love relationship. Unless you are who I want you to be, I don't love you. Unless you're not who I want you to be, I won't love you. You are unlovable unless you do A, B, C, X, Y, Z. You are unlovable unless you fit my standards and you don't have your own standards. You are not acceptable to me unless you are me. The narcissists, particularly those people who are particularly bossy, make it impossible to ever be loved, but they will tell you, I love you, or by virtue of their birthright, perhaps they're born into your family and you must love them because it's unsocially acceptable to not love your family. You must love your family, they are your blood, and you must accept your blood before water. It is to understand that this is an inherent struggle or very painful paradox that you find yourself in eventually. So the narcissist perpetuates the pain, and then oftentimes you're driven to reduce this pain by complying and pacifying them or pleasing them. So the root of people pleasing or annihilating of your own inner voice, annihilating of your own inner be state, annihilating of a healthy identity, which is empowered, i.e. powered up and fueled up by a healthy natural drive within to fulfill that good, purpose that is your talent and your aptitude, your natural inherent strengths. Let's face it, we're all born a blank slate, but we all have aptitudes. We might be a good runner. We might be naturally good at math. We might naturally be good at speaking. We might naturally be good at the creative arts. We might naturally be good at intrapersonal relationships. We might be naturally inherently good at intrapersonal, i.e. within, understanding the mind within. Thomas Gardner, the 8 strengths. You can take all sorts of personality tests and learn your natural aptitude. In fact, it's highly recommended on the healing journey, of course, the questions that we ask for you to discover your natural aptitude in order to experience fullness of character, wholeness of being, and an identity, i.e. the I am, that is centered in circles and grows out from the healthy sense of self. And a healthy sense of self is very difficult to experience when you're with an emotional manipulator or abuser, because by proxy, by virtue, by default of this dichotomy, this relationship dynamic, they must always maintain plates in the air, which equate to I am better than, and they will wound in their relationships to show you who is the boss, who is the dominant one. And they do this by violation of boundaries in violation of standards. So you must reduce your boundaries and annihilate your standards. Eliminate your boundaries and also annihilate or reduce your standards, because to give into them, to make everything okay, which is to fit into their command center of, i.e., you must, validate me as better than. So as you continue in this, you begin to devalue yourself. So you're set up not only for the outward showing of devaluing, but to maintain the relationship, you must devalue yourself. You must reduce your standards. You must give in to the high risk or immoral behavior, such as with the psychopath, their propensity for debauchery, their propensity for high risk behaviors, the hyper arousal, the boundary violation, and the causing you to abandon yourself, abandon your values, abandon your societal norms, abandon who you are, your I am, and then give it up, annihilate it for them, remembering that the I am oftentimes is a reduction in awareness versus an increase of awareness. And that's what the healthy I am is on your growing journey. Now, this might be advanced material, but as you really pay attention and you focus on the terms and concepts that we discuss here and the tools we discuss here in the whole Peace and Harmony channel, you will begin to get it. It will click and you will heal, and you'll heal for good. And it's not what you do if you only watch the videos once a week. It's what you do daily that increases the healing and all the lessons to come together. So once again, just getting back, the I am, as we understand through the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, is really, it's perpetuated by a mood which continued over time becomes a temperament, which a temperament over time creates your character or your persona or your identity, which is how you identify yourself and how you view yourself. Really, your identity is your I am, and your I am is not only created historically, but in my viewpoint, it's also projected into the future. In other words, it's like the alcoholic, which is defined as I'm an alcoholic, which is your mood, your temperament, which then becomes your behaviors, and then they're identifying with, I am a drinker, which, oftentimes an alcoholic can't ever stop because they have an identity as a drinker, and they're really uncomfortable letting go of that identity. In other words, if I'm not a drinker, then who am I? If I'm not, this and this type of person, then who am I? So oftentimes this can perpetuate the pain because the pain can be a form of addiction. It is so severely entrenched and engraved in the brain that you become addicted to this pain. Struggle, perpetuate struggle, and then becoming more inflamed, becoming more exasperated, seeking to, the closure or to fit in and belong and not feel less than, causes oftentimes these extreme reactivity or the perpetuation to reduce the pain until the pain is great enough. You tap out that cycle where you go, you know what? We had to call the police this time. We got bankrupt this time. We got divorced this time. I lost my job this time. The kids saw us this time. It's causing an overflow into my work. I can't focus. I can't sleep. So you basically tap out that cycle. The pain becomes great enough. I'm sick and tired of living this way. I'm sick and tired of feeling this way about myself. I'm sick and tired of living with low self-esteem. I'm sick and tired of feeling like I have to dish up another serving of this experience. I'm sick and tired of living the falseness. I'm sick and tired of this person's personality attitude. I'm sick and tired of being manipulated. I'm sick and tired of being afraid. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I mean, eventually you get so sick and tired of being yelled at, being given the look, being hyper aroused, being put into high risk situations, of, being ignored, of having the apathy, of the withdrawal, of the feeling of resourcelessness. I don't know what to do. That's really when, you begin to hit the bottom, you bottom out. You seek consultation. You seek to learn the tools. You need to hold on to something to get you in another direction, what I call positive orderly direction thinking. You've gone down the road of negative orderly direction thinking, behaving, and feeling, too far. The gap is too far between who you want to be and who and what you are becoming, or where you're at. So in other words, you've had and seen enough red flags. Perhaps you've exposed this person. Perhaps you've learned enough information now to say with the channel that, I get it now. This person will not change. This circumstance will not change. If something is to change, it has to be me now. The change begins with me, and I must, do something different. And this is always going to stay the same. So if I want to change, I have to change my focus, and I have to do something. I have to learn the lessons. I have to forgive this other person, and I must forgive myself for not knowing better, or not behaving better, or not making better choices. And then come fully into the present, and then come into a state of mindfulness, which is awareness, which is to become aware of yourself, even in the midst of things. So to realize, to come into the experience of your free will, your free choice, your free, and then becoming, that you can choose also your feelings, and also the boundaries of standards. In other words, it's the understanding that no one can make you feel less than if you give them permission to. So Eleanor Roosevelt made that very profound statement. No one will make you feel less than unless you give them permission to. Likewise, you can, transfer that over to anger, upset, sad, cheated, violated, unless you give them permission to. So the healing oftentimes is understanding where in the relationship did you give them permission to allow you to feel this way. Okay? And perhaps this might occur through many years, many decades. This might occur through a long period of time. So this might, I just nagged my hair with my ring. So this might be, this might be developed over a long period of time. This might be forming in your mindset, in your personality, your I am, for a long period of time, And so the role of the ability of metacognition, which can grow and increase with time, which is the ability to think about yourself, the ability to think about yourself. In other words, I am focusing right now. I am relaxing right now. I am breathing slowly and assuredly right now. I am comfortable right now, or I am uncomfortable right now. So it's the awareness, and so it is expanding of your awareness that begins the healing journey and helps you to reduce the suffering. And the suffering oftentimes is also important to understand that this is to grow out of the suffering and to heal from the suffering and individuate and be okay with yourself, is to realize that oftentimes the very presence of this relationship has caused and is keeping into effect and making more severe the feelings of suffering. So the physical looks, the physical presence, the feeling, of this person, the looks, the things that they say, their lack of what they say, the withdrawing, the apathy, I don't care, the feeling of fakeness, the persona, it is to understand that the narcissist as well as the psychopath engage in persona manipulation. They are crafting and creating a false mask. They're pretending to be happy when they're not. They're the fake kissing. You're expected to kiss them on the cheeks, but they're going to kiss the air. They're not kissing you. They're kissing the air. They're not really hugging you. They're, giving you the catty hug. They're not really shaking your hand. They're just, it is not genuine. So it is to it is to get awareness of what is the problem when you're together. It is the bossy attitude, the saucy, that you're supposed to ha 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 ha, or just even witness. You're supposed to consume them. And so you need to stop consuming them. You need to stop consuming the energy. You need to stop consuming the apathy. You need to stop consuming the aggression or hostility. You need to stop consuming, that. You need to go no contact. You need to become aware. You need to get your heartbeat out of their grip. You need to, get out of the low valley that they have created for you. You need to get out of that low inferiority complex that they have created for you. There's such a saying, you make the bed that you sleep in. You need to stop making the bed of betrayal. You need to stop making the bed of suffering. You need to get off of the pins and needles, stop walking the eggshells, stop the bed of nails, stop, the dark closet that you must live in. You must come out of the closet of unhappiness and awake into happiness. And it is a growing of consciousness and awareness. So it is to understand that you must go deeper and live in a state of pure awareness of this in order to heal from it. So it is oftentimes very difficult to think yourself out of it, feel yourself out of it. You must go into awareness, which is mindfulness, which is getting into, the feeling state of when you're around them, and allow that to flicker and allow that to warm you. I'm so sick of the coldness. I'm so sick of, the depression. I'm so sick of not being able to talk. I'm so sick of, being, always having to be the quiet one. I'm so sick of never preparing the meal, or I'm sick of always preparing the dinner. I'm so, I need things to change. And I need things to be on, change for the good of me. I want to be able to relax. And if the suffering were to, to eliminate the suffering, I desire to relax. To eliminate the suffering, I desire to belong. If I desire to belong, then I need to say, in order to be treated with respect, I need to say, and so that you can become a human being and not a human doing, and not, have the relationship based on a condition that is based on their needs being met, a conditional relationship. It is only based on these conditions. You need to understand what unconditional love means. And you need to practice it, and it needs to begin with you. I love you, as you are. I love you as a human being, not a human doing. You don't have to do anything for me to love you. The very awareness, that you are here is your connection to divine, the divine, that, which is divine, which is bliss, which is infinite. You are connected to. That is your, that is your awareness right now. You are here. We are here. We're here in the earth plane. This is, to be here is to it is to have perception. It is to perceive. It is to be, that is what is to be alive, And if you say that person is so alive, or perhaps someone who is a mentor to you is very much of these things, or you perceive that to be where you want to be. So they're at the reduction of the gap between their awareness and who they are, that human being, and what they're doing. They're living the dream. In other words, they're living that future. It's a healthy functioning cycle, and they have this healthy functioning going on when they're with people. In other words, they fit in, they belong, they know how to handle, they won't tolerate things. They'll stop it in their tracks. They won't be able to succeed if they allow this mistreatment or not to have boundaries and standards. They cannot, they will not tolerate it. They have boundaries, they have standards, they have very strong boundaries, and they have very strong standards, or very high standards. So the boundaries, the standards, the boundaries, the standards, boundaries and standards is all about, getting into that higher consciousness, that metacognition, that awareness, and saying, okay, when did this begin? How did I also fuel the fire? How did I perpetuate this feeling state? So looking at yourself, looking into your heart, and then, and then coming present, and then learning to understand where it is in the present. And so reducing the suffering is to say, I am coming into pure awareness, and I am so comfortable in my I am is defined by this pure comfort. My I am is defined by this feeling of I am enough. My pure comfort is defined by this pure I deserve. My comfort is derived by this sense of I am complete. Everything that I have is mine, and I am complete. I am complete and perfect just as where I am and how I am right now. I am perfect where I am right now. And allowing that to feel, and then giving yourself the unconditional love as it comes from that beginning point, which is your awareness of your connection to the divine, and understanding that you are an infinite being. So that is a relief, because then it helps you to put things not only in perspective, but the big picture, and to see that this person was like a poke, to get you into promulgated and into that awareness. So, once that pain is great enough, it's to come into the awareness and then release and let go of that cause which created this painful effect. So get the cause out. So it is to remove the cause, i.e. eliminate the negative presence that this person has caused to create a new effect. And so if this person, either you confront them in your awareness, your ability to imagine, or if they're still in your presence, still in your life, it is confronting them. It's saying, you are not the boss of me. You're not the boss of me. You can't, having this wall is not going to work. Just turning away is extremely rude, and I can't tolerate that. Ignoring me is creating a huge barrier to our communication. Treating me like a scapegoat, is not tolerated, and then you walk away. Projecting all of your attention onto me is creating too much. It's learning to, and then confront in 5 to 15 words these people, and letting them know that they are not all that. The center needs to be taken off of you now. Is that okay? It is being able to diffuse. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, and I hope that these videos do help.